Hello, everyone. It's great for you guys to join us online and our beautiful, wonderful patients that we have here. In fact, I may bring up one or two of them to come and talk and share a little bit. So today we have a very, very important topic. But I always like to tell people why I do what I do. And because I think that's really, really important. I think a lot of you guys know why I do what I do. But I'm going to tell you if you don't know. Because you always kind of wonder, like, what is it that drives someone? Someone who knows me and comes and sees me here, they know that I am very, very driven to do what I'm doing. And so it came to me when I was 16 years old, and my parents received a letter, and the letter said that I needed to go to the local cancer institution when I was 16 years of age, because my mother, when she was pregnant with me in the 50s, she took a medication that they found out 16 years later that it caused cancer in male and female offspring. It also caused anatomical problems and hormone problems. And so I grew up in Houston, so I went to the Ivory Tower Institution. So you can imagine at 16 years of age, how scary. I don't think you don't even go to the doctor, and you for sure don't get pap smears and biopsies and invasive procedures. So I had the unfortunate experience of knowing about a lot of things and being invaded upon. And so that has led to me to where I am today. So luckily I wanted to go to medical school. So I knew in college that I wanted to go to medical school, and I set out on that. I babysat for a lady doctor, and I thought, I'm good at science, and so what could I do? I couldn't be with Bunsen burners. I needed to talk to people like I'm doing now. And so I said to myself, what can I do? So as a result of that, I took my health in my own hands. I would go to doctors, and doctors never really helped me, I'll be honest, okay? Or they gave me birth control pills because I never had periods, or they gave me this thing, that, all different kinds of medications. And I'll never forget, I had a very unfortunate experience when I delivered twins 25 years ago. I had twins, and I had a very catastrophic delivery where I developed a condition called Sheehan syndrome. And Sheehan syndrome is when your pituitary doesn't work, it shuts down. And so anyway, I would go to all these doctors, and very well-known doctors, and they'd all listen to me and look at me like, whoa, what is she talking about? They didn't really know what to do. So of course I said, okay, I can't live like this. I'm not going to take the 13 drugs that the doctor had me on, literally, I'm not kidding. And then when they told me I had to take a psych drug, I went, no, I am not crazy. I do not have an anxiety disorder. I don't have a depression disorder. I need to fix my hormones. I mean, this is crazy. So I researched everything, everywhere, about everything, and that's been my life for since I, had this dilemma. So, and I've had multiple episodes in my life. Like if you're listening out there and you've been diagnosed with cancer, it's an episode. It's not something that controls you, owns you, and makes you who you are. It's an episode for you to learn and become enlightened. Like I would not be sitting here without going to HKU. Do you know what HKU is? Hard Knocks University. Not Hong Kong University, HKU, Hard Knocks University. I would never know. Reading it in a book, it's like if you're a mother out there and you say, oh, do you know what it's like to have a child? Could you ever properly explain what it's like to have a child? Never. I know you have a bunch of boys. You would never be able to explain it to anyone because it's inexplicable. There's so many facets to it and so much to it, the experience, that you could never properly explain to someone who's never had a child what it's like. And so yes, I'm a medical doctor, and I'm explaining things to you that I have learned along the way from a scientific, but also an experiential. It's just like when we go to Disneyland, it's like you're telling your friend, oh, we're going to go to Disneyland. Oh, it's this and that and the other. But until you go and actually experience all the rides and excitement in Disneyland, would you really, really, really say, oh, this, that, and the other about Disneyland, right? Personally, I don't like Disneyland, but I like walking on the beach in Laguna would be my idea of Disneyland. But anyway, and one thing that I never, ever, ever gave up on myself, I never gave up. Napoleon Hill says never give up on yourself. And I'm going to tell you, I usually end with that, but I'm going to tell you, you need to begin with that. Never, never give up on yourself or someone else. You have no idea how that one little thing can make the hugest difference. So when I was thinking about this at 11 o'clock, thinking before I went to bed, we're going to talk about hope. And that's all of us need is hope. So I thought, okay, hope is going to be our acronym for heavenly options prevailing eventually. Heavenly options prevailing eventually. And when I say that, you know, it literally came to me like instantaneously, like literally, like someone told me, because like that, I think that's pretty amazing. But I didn't think of it myself. I swear it was literally planted, because, like, you know, if you've been suffering for 10 years, right, you still have to have hope. And guess what? Hope comes, and hope gives you inspiration for living. And I remember when I delivered my babies 25 years ago, I was sick and sick and sick. Yes, I worked, and yes, I got through my day, but it wasn't until I finally got the answers to fix my pituitary problem, and that took I think it took about 7 years for me to find the answer, okay? And so, but I just kept searching and researching, what am I going to do? And today, that is my life. I am searching every single day for everyone out there listening, everyone here tonight, and for myself, because I can go and research and do all the analysis and the science, and does this make sense, and is this really going to work? And 33 years later, that's how I still figure it out. Just because I read something doesn't mean, oh, okay, I'm gonna do it. I research it and everything, and luckily I have the biochemistry and the chemical background to say, okay, does this kind of make sense? Does this? And luckily I have lots of files that over the years that I have learned, and that I've said, you know, that works really good, that works kind of good, that really didn't work at all. And so, but that's just what we have to do. And, you know, if you read about the story of Walt Disney, I mean, how many banks, there's little different numbers, but how many banks did he go for someone to believe in his thought process? He went through like 970 banks or something, some outrageous number for someone to believe in his project. And so now, what is Disneyland today? Disneyland today is like the happiest place on earth. Everybody wants to go there, right? So you get there's a lot of there's a lot of information out there for every one of us. Even for me, there's so much information, overwhelming. And you're like, oh, I got to sort through all of these things. But what you have is, you are given, each of us is given a gut level feel. Like, does this feel good to me? Does this feel right to me? And you have to ask yourself, because there is no doctor on the planet that knows how to give an expiration date, right? What happens when the doctor gives a patient an expiration date? They fulfill it. She said it right. It comes true. That's why when you say any words to anyone, it needs to be always loving and supportive and encouraging, right? Because who needs negative words, right? Nobody does. Nobody does. Does it ever work? When your husband over here, if he's not a nice person, does it work? No, you want to kick his, you know what, out, right? So it's important that we are mindful and we guard our tongue and how we talk to one another. Trust me, I've had 7 kids. I've wanted to kill half of them. So it's just normal. Not really, but I'm saying figuratively. So anyway, hi. And so anyway, we need to be very, very mindful of what we say to one another. But unfortunately, doctors are every day giving patients expiration dates. And I never learned that in medical school. In fact, I've never had anyone tell me in any setting that that's what we should be doing. Is you have 6 months, you have 3 months, you have 9 months, you have a year. Well, no. You decide. Each one of you decides how you want to live and how long you want to live. And because what is most important? What do you think is the most important thing in your existence today? What do you think it is? What do you think it is? Regardless, we could be talking about cancer or any medical problem. What is the most powerful thing? Your state of mind. Your state of mind. And this isn't something, I'm over 60 years of age. That's not something I grew up with. It's not something that all of us people here, I know I can tell we're not young here, that wasn't part of our life, was it? It was never part of our life. Now today, it's becoming public how it's becoming well more informed about how you think is how you are. And I always tell patients, you become what you think about most of the time. So we are having our daily thoughts, whatever they are. I tell people stress starts in the head and ends in the body. And so the body carries on these unfortunate memories, these unfortunate traumas. So there was a very famous doctor, Dr. Hammer. Does anyone know about Dr. Hammer, H-A-M-E-R? Very famous German oncologist. And he was practicing in Germany in a conventional oncology clinic, regular giving surgery, chemo, radiation to all of his patients. All of a sudden, in his 50s, he gets testicular cancer, which is very unusual cancer at 50 years of age. So he's like, well, wait a second, like, why did I get cancer? So he got testicular cancer. So he started asking all of his patients why do they think they had cancer? And every single one of them said, oh, I had a trauma here. This happened at 1-year-old. This happened at this time. This tragic thing happened. So come to find out, his son was tragically killed about a year or 2 prior, and he couldn't get over it. So he actually treated 15,000 patients. I've heard different numbers. Some places say 15, some places 30,000, but a lot of patients. And basically talking patients out of their cancer. So you should look him up, Dr. Hammer, H-A-M-E-R. And he wrote the 5 biological laws of medicine. And I think personally he should have gotten a Nobel Prize because it talks about that a patient experiences a conflict shock here and then it manifests in the body. So it's been known for a very, very long time that our mental state is controlling how we live every single day. So the most important thing you need to do is you need to program yourself. Okay? Every single morning, you're going to program yourself. You whenever you get up, but you stay in bed and you think, today I always say, today's going to be the best day ever. That's what I say every single day. It's going to be the best day ever. And then I say, the immediately thing I automatically think is like what I'm grateful for today. And there is, then I wake up great, okay? And not everything is great in my life. Trust me, it's not. I'm like normal, like everybody else. Everybody has trials and tribulations. I have them too. And it is part of life. You're never going to get out of it. You're never going to get out of a problem. You're never. It's just part of life. And so I want you to look at life as a beautiful thing, first of all, that you're so privileged that you were born with this miraculous, magnificent, mysterious body. And it's mysterious because you don't know everything and you're trying to figure out everything. But it is something that every day I'm in awe of. I am so in awe of, like, how does this work every single day, you know, from the DNA of our cells, like everything. And the more I learn, the more I'm fascinated by, like, how do we all wake up every morning? Because it is so amazing. And that's unfortunate because in our world today, we hear so much strife and we hear people being mean to one another. We hear people being, you know, killing people and everything. And it's very, very, very sad that how could we do that to our fellow man? Our fellow man is supposed to bless us every day. And so we have to hopefully pray for more peace and love in the planet because there is so much strife in the world. I mean, and you can see it. It's not just here, it's all over the world. So with that introduction, I want to open up the floor for questions. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And concerns, questions, comments, anything. So,
anyone here have any questions? We're going to have Dr. C repeat your question just because your mic is sensitive, so it won't hear your question. I know we have some questions from the iPad.
Okay, great, wonderful.
Anyone have any questions so far? Yeah.
It seems like there's just been an onslaught of people getting MS. Young, middle-aged, and older. Are you guys have treatments here for people with MS? And if so, can you tell me some of that?
Okay, good. Okay, so her question was about the increasing incidence, which is new cases, of multiple sclerosis. And multiple sclerosis is a neurological condition. And actually, there's not only an increase in multiple sclerosis, but there's an increase in dementia. There's been like a 213% increase in that in the last 15 years, I was reading. So neurological diseases are on the rise, okay? And in neurological diseases, there's like no answer, really. No, there is answers, but there's no answers as far as medications. There are some medications for MS, but they're not really that great. I think they sometimes partially work. But multiple sclerosis, like any illness, is related to the way we live and how we live and what we are putting in and on our body, okay? And so with MS is just how it manifests. And there's always an emotional component to everything, okay? I don't care what illness you have, even if you have a cold, it's because you're stressed out, worn out, you get a cold. Because there's 10 people can walk in the same room and 5 will get it and 5 won't get it because there's something going on. But MS is, you've got to do a very thorough analysis of the patient, just like you would have to do any illness, okay? It doesn't matter. If you came to see me for optimization, you'd still be doing the same. The blood work, all the nutritional testing, bioenergetic testing. You're going to do all that to see. I just finished with a patient. He came in just for an executive physical. That's all he came in. And he found at least 10 things he didn't know he had. And he goes, whoa, this is very interesting because he'd really never gone to the doctor. He's 57 years old, never went to the doctor. Diabetic, 0 vitamin D, low testosterone, candida, and parasites. And, well, that's enough. So that's enough. So anyway, so MS is treated with, like, again, getting the patient on the right eating, getting them off their food allergies, cleansing, giving them, there's certain targeted treatments that I do. I know one, for example, is high-dose biotin. There's special IVs that we do. The photodynamic laser therapy is very helpful for MS. So you can you can reverse MS. You can. It's not a, but you have to be willing to make lifestyle changes. I tell people the life that we were given, we have to honor and respect. And we weren't taught how to honor and respect and follow the rules and laws of Mother Nature. We just weren't. And then our food has been so tampered with that the soil isn't good, and then the pesticides, and then the Roundup, and then all these genetically modified foods. So we don't know what we're eating, what we're drinking, or anything anymore, unfortunately, in the air and everything. I mean, it's unfortunate, but we really don't know. Our water supply is very contaminated. Our air, we have lots of air pollution. We have indoor air pollution. And so, I mean, our clothes, everything we put on our body has potential influence on our body. And so we're living in a world unchecked. There's been a complete, and I would say in the last 30 years, every cell phones and iPads came out and everything, and no one thought, oh, is it going to affect the person? Well, yeah, hello, we're electrical energetic beings, and this device that you carry and you worry about more than your own body, and you charge and you make sure your cell phone's charged, but we don't make sure our own body's charged every day, right? I mean, that's kind of sad. But these cell phones and these iPads and these cell towers, you guys know it's late in the news, cover of Newsweek, cell towers causing brain cancer in children. Guys, I see a lady acknowledging what I'm telling. Yes, this is real. This is serious. Can you imagine if your child had brain cancer? I was thinking, imagine like, oh my God, if my child going to school got brain cancer? Because they have a cell tower right on the school. Well, it's just not the cell tower. It's all the electronic devices. And you know what? We all have to take a stand for humanity. We have to. And it's going to take all of us, because the forces that want to, like the largest force in Washington is electrocommunications. And the second one is pharmaceuticals. So anyway, so there's lots you can do.
I have questions, Dr. C, you'll have to repeat. So
Okay.
this one's a little more complicated. Do you think a drug that lowers testosterone for prostate cancer could negatively impact the integrity lining of the arteries in the brain as hormones that build muscle? As if hormones that build muscle. Does that make sense?
Yes. So when someone is diagnosed, I'm going to repeat the question so for everyone, because we all learn from everyone else, right? So this gentleman may or may not have prostate cancer. I'm not sure if he does, but a part of the treatment for prostate cancer is taking a medication that shuts down your testosterone, right? Because testosterone can have the potential to feed prostate cancer. And so these drugs are called androgen blockade. Well, do you need testosterone? Does a man need testosterone? Yes, a man needs testosterone. And what happens when a man doesn't have testosterone? They become fat, they lose their muscles, yes, they talked about the brain. It affects the brain. It affects the blood sugar levels. It affects arteria. It affects the heart, because the heart is a muscle, right? Think about it. The heart's a muscle. So now you don't have testosterone feeding the heart. So it affects the bones. So bones, just like women need testosterone too. Men, their dominant hormone is testosterone. So I always tell males that the testosterone blockade may be something I give them in the beginning just to control everything. I tell people, we have to control the problem first. So that might be part of my treatment in the beginning, but long term, it's not going to be a good treatment, because there isn't a cell in the body that testosterone doesn't affect, and the man will eventually not feel well. So I'm glad he brought point that the doctor should be telling the patient, so look, I'm going to give you this testosterone blockade, so let me explain to you what testosterone does. It affects your sense of well-being, your mood, your energy, your stamina, how your heart works, how your bone works, how everything works, okay? I mean, how men make decisions. I remember, it's interesting, I had a young man come in, and he just came in for, routine physical, and I think his wrist hurt. And so he says, can you just draw all my blood? Well, he had low testosterone, and he was only 27 years old, waiting for his third kid. So the next visit, I give him, next visit I'm going over his blood work. I said, you have low testosterone? And I go, so tell me, how's your sex drive? How's your energy? How's your mood? How do you function at work? Do you make good decisions, etc.? So anyway, he's like, oh, I never really I guess, when he's married, couple of kids, one on the way, you're not thinking about all these things, right? So anyway, I give him something to increase his testosterone levels naturally, because you don't want to give a young boy testosterone. So anyway, he comes back and goes, Dr. Keneally, I cannot believe the difference in how I feel. But not only that, when I go to work, I'm handling things. I negotiate. I debate. My whole day is 100% different now. And so it's amazing the things that we don't know really how we're supposed to work or how we're not supposed to work. Teaches as an educator, because we all think that this body here is just going to work for us every day. And we have to ensure and have certainty that it's going to work. So anyway, I hope that answered his question.
Okay, what are your thoughts on soy and breast cancer? She says, I'm so confused on what's out there on the internet.
Oh, okay, that's a loaded question. So her question was, what about soy and breast cancer? So that's a loaded question. So soy is one of the most genetically modified foods. So that's the first thing you want to understand, is that soy is a very genetically modified food. So I tell people if they're going to eat any soy, they would eat only soybeans, and not too many of them. There's a lot of estrogens in soy, okay? So if you have a cancer that is related to estrogen receptor positive, or if you have a cancer, some other kind of cancer that's fed with estrogen, you would most likely avoid more estrogen, all right? Now, other countries, like if you go to other countries, they eat a lot of soy. But we're not the same. Americans don't have the same makeup. I know we all like to think that we're all the same, but we're not. There's a lot of different factors. And so I err on the side of caution, and that is not a lot of soy. If you eat soy, eat soybeans. I personally do not eat tofu. I have in the past, but I don't now knowing that eating lots of soy is lots of estrogens, and it's more importantly, it's a very genetically modified food and processed food. So if you want to eat soy, just eat soybeans, and it's not something you consume all the time.
Perfect. We have some more questions.
Okay.
A lot more questions. Anyone else in the audience have any more questions? Yeah?
My daughter was just diagnosed with scoliosis. Just the beginnings of it. How do you get that, and is there things you can do for it?
Okay, so scoliosis. So the patient, someone here, for our listeners, she asked about her daughter who has scoliosis. Now, how old is she?
39.
Oh, she's 39 and just now being diagnosed?
Slight, yeah.
Okay, so 39-year-old with scoliosis. So first of all, I don't know if it could have been congenital. So congenital means you were born with it, and then you diagnose it at 16, maybe 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Do you remember ever you going to the doctor and the doctor said that no? Okay, so the other reason I think about when patients have scoliosis is they don't have good minerals. Minerals are so depleted. Well, minerals are the first thing you need before vitamins, okay? Literally. For vitamins to be utilized, you need minerals. That's why I'm big on minerals, especially if you do infrared. You better make sure you do lots of minerals because it's depleted, because you do it yourself. So, but minerals are, if you think about it, I don't know exactly what year that our soils have become depleted. So our fruits and vegetables don't have the mineral content that they did years ago. So it's very possible that she's got weakening from hormones. She's had 2 kids, hormones, her kidneys, and minerals. So you want to look at the infrastructure, the foundation. This is the problem in medicine today, is they don't look at the building blocks of how our body works every day. This is what we need to do to make sure that our whole body is in optimal state, right? I don't care if you're 6 years old or 106 years old. You need to make sure the matrix of your body is working for you and with you. So I would definitely do that.
What's your favorite mineral supplementation for like the sauna uses?
Okay, well, the best thing I think is the fulvic minerals. Okay, now the liquid, it comes in liquid fulvic mineral. It comes in, there are some pills too. We have here, that you're familiar with the fulvic. You know what, it's probably the best thing. I don't personally use that because it's a liquid and I don't always have it. I kind of go through spurts, but I love minerals. I like the standard process trace minerals for traveling, like when you're traveling and you can't carry liquids. But the standard process trace minerals is excellent. I've tried probably 20 different minerals because I like to try, that's something you take like all the time. And when you get stressed, what happens? Minerals go, right? Your minerals, you feel your body going, woo! Your body's just using it all up and you're becoming acidic, right? And so minerals are calming and get the body back in balance, right? They get our parasympathetic system back in balance. So fulvic minerals are the liquid, and I know they do have pills, and then but look at your sources because it really does matter. It really does matter what you use, and I know by trying these things over so many 30 years, trying and this and trying that, and my system is very good uptake of how something works. Like not everybody's is. My husband's is terrible. He doesn't know if I give him something good or not, you know. And so, you know, right? So, you know, it's just the way it is. You know, some people are real sensitive. Like I'm very sensitive to electromagnetic fields, but other people aren't. So, anyway, so that's a good question.
Is positive HER2 breast cancer, does breast cancer have to do with diet? I think she's talking about, does breast cancer have to do with what you eat?
Okay, so she asked if breast cancer has to do with what you eat. Well, everything has to do with what you eat. Everything. But she may be thinking about, pardon me, ER2?
Yep.
You know, that's estrogen receptor positive. So estrogen receptor positive, it means that the cancer is fed with estrogen, whether it's your own estrogen or estrogen that's in the environment. And there are so many estrogens in the environment. Probably the number one pollutant in man today is phthalates and estrogen. So we all have to be aware of this. So that's why, you know, I have a glass water bottle. I don't carry plastic around. I never carry plastic hardly ever unless I'm traveling. But, you know, just receipts. You know, people don't think your receipts, those are loaded with free phthalates. Do you know how they ask you if you want your receipt? If you don't need your receipt, tell them, I don't need the receipt. And if you get the receipt, be very careful. Wash your hands immediately. Have those little wipe-ums in your purse or around you. You need to wipe those. Those go right inside your system. And those are estrogen driven. So there's so many, like our food, look at our food. Our food is all stored in plastic. I mean, I have a great idea for an alternative to plastic, but I don't have time for another project. So, but I would love to because I think that we need to change. Like you remember when you bought meat at the meat market, they wrapped it in that butcher paper? That's the way it should be, right? And when you bought bread, they used just paper, right? We need to go back to those. We need to go back to the ways things used to be because that worked, you know, just like you had milk. Milk came fresh, you know, to your house. They delivered it, right? So we've got to get back, and I know a lot of companies are trying to instill the value of their business based upon how it's going to help you, the end user. So Monsanto is not one of them.
What are your thoughts on copper in foods? This is from Ellen. You know, because she's worried about the elemental copper in supplements and foods. Does it affect anything as far as
right.
disease or cancer?
Well, everything affects everything, okay? Our body, like I said, is this sophisticated biochemical machine. So what she asked, does copper negatively impact you, whether it's in the food or the vitamin sources, everything. Well, actually, it can, but that's why we check the copper levels on every single person that comes in to see if you have too much of something, it's not good for you. But copper can be a problem, and then some people have a metabolism problem that they don't metabolize copper properly. So that's good she brought that out. So she should check her red blood cell copper levels to see what those are. And there are things that, and she needs to check her ceruloplasmin, which is the protein that carries the copper. So she should, because there's a treatment actually, is depleting your copper levels. And so I think that's a very good detail to talk about.
Okay, so I'm going to read, what are alternatives to pharmaceutical estrogen blockers and aromatase inhibitors? I've been diagnosed with an invasive ductal carcinoma, and an oncologist suggests mastectomy with either EB or AI.
Okay, so she asked about her breast cancer or the breast cancer is related to estrogen, again, feeding the cancer. Okay, again, I will tell you, you have your own endogenous estrogen, which is made in your body, and then you have your own, your estrogens that are permeating in our environment. So at this point in time, I always tell people, we have to err on the side of caution. Now, there are typical medications that are given sometimes to patients. If you're premenopausal, they give everyone tamoxifen. If you're postmenopausal, the rule of thumb is anastrozole or letrozole, something like those are the medications normally. So a lot of my patients do not want to take medication. So I go, okay, if you don't, first of all, let's check your levels and see what they are, number one. Number two, there are some natural things that block estrogen, okay? So I use Myomin, which is an herbal combination that helps reduce the estrogen in your body. And even if you had high levels yourself endogenously, it's a great hormone to decrease your estrogen. And there's another product called Aromate PM. So there's another, you know about indole 3-carbinol, which is the substance made from broccoli. Broccoli helps the metabolism of estrogen. So it's more important that you know your metabolism of estrogen by checking, it's a urine test to check your 2, 4, and 16 hydroxy estrogen to see what your levels are. And she also needs to check if she's an MTHFR, if she has methylation issues. So there's way more to the story. Now, if you do the RGCC test tells you what medication is best for you. If you have prostate cancer and it shows all the testosterone blockers, or estrogen, it shows all the natural estrogen blockers and the drugs. So it's great information so you know what works best for you.
Dr. C, you're getting from Australia all over, they're saying you're the best doctor in the world, they all are loving you. I just want you to know. So,
you know why I'm the best? Like you, that's why.
So
and I wish it was Hong Kong.
I know. I'm going to skip. Does the clinic treat multiple myeloma with success? Question mark.
So she asked about multiple myeloma. So multiple myeloma is that you have a problem with your bone marrow. And actually multiple myeloma is very, very effectively treated. But again, like everyone should know, and all the patients here know, that they go through lots of detailed evaluation. The body is very, very sophisticated, and no doctor goes to medical school for 4 years and then training, and then it's not that, it's the years of experience that's where you learn. And then you have to have, a doctor has to have a constant curiosity to learn. All scientists need to do that. And doctors today, you can't just use drugs. First of all, drugs and errors are the third leading cause of death in this country now, in the United States, okay? And so we need to think about twice before we use a drug. Sometimes drugs are necessary, okay? Sometimes we use drugs here. But we always need to look in nature at the drug alternative to the condition. And so, but multiple myeloma, you know, one of the key things with multiple myeloma is heavy metals. So heavy metals are mercury, lead, arsenic, cadmium, gadolinium. Gadolinium is when you do an MRI, the gadolinium is very, very toxic. So, and uranium also is very important. So that patient needs a very complete workup of checking everything and doing I'm sure they've done a bone marrow, and there's just a very cookie cutter approach to multiple myeloma, okay? You get these drugs, and then if that doesn't work, you get the next set of drugs. Never looking at the patient. But we are now in the world today, and the other doctors may have not caught up, but it's whole body health care. What did we start this discussion out with? Our head. Well, the doctors forget that you have a head and that you do have emotion and you do have emotional molecules that float around our body that influence how every single cell in our body works. Period. End of story. So that's why we have to talk to our patients and find out what's going on with them and help them. I had a patient come in today, and she spent I would say more than half the visit, that her daughter decided that she does not want to speak to her, and it's been an ongoing problem. And she said, I'm very, very depressed. And I said, you need help. You cannot do this by yourself. You need to have a partner to help you sort out how you're going to handle this. I'm going to give you something natural, because if you look at the FDA website, there's 170 side effects from medications. So I always start out with something natural. And I said, but I'm going to send you to this counselor so you can help sort out that, because you have to have someone to hold your hand and be your support to walk you through this. But you can't live like this. And we all have tragedy that happens to us, right? We all do. Loss and tragedy and all kinds of things. And we need either girlfriends, or we need counselors, or we need EVOX, what Liliana does, to help us unravel these emotional conflicts. So,
Okay, this one's going to see you in Nashville. Very excited to see you. What protocols do you do for parasites? And I know it's loaded, but she's also asking a twofer. Do you ever see RGC go down to 0? Hers is 3.5. My IV gene is 11.
her what's 11?
IV gene.
Oh, IV gene. Okay.
I don't. Trifecta is all normal. All normal. Looking forward to seeing you. But so she's talking about really parasites and.
Okay, so first of all, parasites, we don't think in the United States that there is such thing as parasites. But parasites are real. They're in the water supply. They're in the food supply. They're very, very difficult to diagnose. The only true way a doctor can diagnose them is they take a specimen of your stool through your anus, rectum, and look at them under the microscope. So the way we do it here is we do bioenergetic testing. Because if you check the acupuncture meridians, all right, it tells you if you have parasites. Parasites are very powerful forces on a patient, and they're very real, and they do happen because if you have a dog, if you have a cat, if you eat out, it's a very high chance you're going to get parasites. Okay, I personally have had parasites, so I know, and you can get them anywhere. You can get them in the United States, and you can get it traveling. So parasites, the way we do it here is that we use your acupuncture meridians. So we use a stylist, which I don't like. It looks like a pin. It looks like a pin, and we actually check the meridian, and then that meridian comes up on the computer screen if it's balanced or not. And then it will tell us what is imbalancing your system. And so parasites will come up or not come up. Another big thing that comes up that a lot of people here know about is candida. Fungus comes up a lot. So if you're struggling with breast cancer or any cancer, you want to make sure you don't have drains to the body. You want to get rid of all the drains, whether they're parasites, fungus, bacteria, viruses. Like viruses, a lot of people have viruses. Viruses are drains to the body. You got to make sure that your body is cleansed. If your body's not cleansed, you're going to get energy impedance. If your body is deficient in one or more nutrients. Do you know that 90% of the population does not have the nutritional biochemistry to fight any illness? So so if the doctor's not checking this, how does he know with certainty that he is helping you? So she brought up circulating tumor cells. Okay, so I always explain to patients, there's the circulating tumor cells and there's the cancer. I don't know what, she has what kind of cancer?
So she doesn't say,
Okay, well, if you have any
it's
kind of,
3.5 on her.
okay, that's the
She
circulating
wants to
tumor
get to
cell.
0.
Yeah, okay. You need to keep working to zero by rotating your natural supplements. You know, on the RGCC, most of you guys know that on the RGCC it tells you what agents, and then if those natural things don't work, you should add the SOT in there, which is the supportive oligonucleotide technique, to accelerate those circulating tumor cells, because those are responsible for 95% of metastasis. So, but not, you don't want to concentrate just on the circulating tumor cells. You want to make sure that the cancer is gone. If you have surgery or chemo or radiation, most of the time the cancer is not gone, because a doctor cannot see microscopic cancer. If you have chemo, there is no 100% chemotherapy cure. Not at all. In fact, chemotherapy treatment is very, very low. And then radiation is somewhere works between 0 to 25% on the RGCC when they test it. So it's not going to be, so you still have to deal with the cancer. So I don't know if you've done any kind of testing on yourself to make sure that the cancer is completely gone. Because if you have a PET scan, it doesn't mean, or a CT scan of your chest, abdomen, and pelvis, it doesn't mean the cancer is gone because you have a clean scan. We all know that. It just means that there's nothing big. So that's a great news, because that's what we want. So then we got to go after the microscopic invisible stuff. So how we do that in our clinic is we do bioenergetic testing that checks the energy impedance. Energy impedance meaning something is not working like it should. So we check the energy impedance of all your acupuncture meridians, which have been around for 5,000 years. So, so that's what we do. So it's, yeah.
So if in regards to the radiation, if they're telling you, they always do, okay, we're going to put you on 6 to 7 weeks of radiation, and I've already been told that that's not the greatest thing to do, you suggest maybe doing half of it or not at all?
Right, so this lovely lady, Brunelda, right? Yes, so she said that she asked radiation. Of course, they always recommend radiation after surgery for breast cancer. They always do. I will tell you my personal opinion. I'm not a big fan of radiation, okay? Because radiation, for everything you do, there's a good and a bad, right? So you have secondary damage, plus you have secondary cancers, right? So unless the doctor tells you how you're going to protect yourself from all the radiation and prevent, how is he or she going to prevent a secondary cancer, which is real, right? It's a real problem. And so radiation is not a great thing. It's just not. Okay, is it sometimes necessary? Yes, but it's not something that they actually, the outcomes most likely are going, they say, are going to be the same. So you're not going to increase your life whether you do radiation or not. Now, I don't know what kind of cancer. It's probably breast, right? Is it breast? Okay. So it's breast. So the standard of care is always get the lumpectomy. Chemo is a maybe yes or no. A lot of times no now. And then automatically do radiation. Automatic. Do 21 days or whatever. Right now, I am dealing with 3 or 4 patients right now who had surgery with the doctor, not here, and they didn't come here first, but they did surgery and radiation, and now I'm trying to unravel that because their thermography and their bioenergetic testing is showing that they're not okay. So anyway, and then of course they have circulating tumor cells, right? So that was never checked with the doctors. So it's a I know it's very, very, very tough, but it's, but you have to protect yourself. So
Dr. Kennedy, what do you recommend for 12-year-old girl to prevent, treat? It's mitochondrial dysfunction, and increased risk of cancer due to the dysfunction of the mitochondria.
Right. So 12-year-old with mitochondria. So everybody know what mitochondria are? Okay. Well, you want to know what your mitochondria are. Every day you use all your mitochondria. Okay. So mitochondria, mito stands for thread, chondro stands for granule. So it looks like a granule, kind of like almost like a rice, but it has these great, beautiful little wavy structures inside of it. And so your mitochondria are responsible for making your ATP, which is your energy. Every single day energy. And everything you drink, eat, and everything is bombarding your mitochondria, okay? So like if you eat something, if exposed to chemicals or radiation or any kind of chemicals or bad things, that mitochondria, they go and attack the mitochondria. So all diseases have a mitochondrial root. So that's why you want to know. So your NutrEval, all the testing that you guys do, tells you how good your mitochondria is, okay? So the best thing she can do is make sure the 12-year-old should be cleansing, okay? So cleansing is not a problem really for people today. If people grew up like this, that's all you would know, okay? Because, right? You'd grow up with cleansing, right? My kids grew up with liver flushes, they grew up with green juices, they grew up with infrared sauna, so like that's automatic for them because so it's not unusual. Yes, do they like In-N-Out hamburgers? Of course they do. But I mean, it's an occasional occurrence, right? And so, but they know how to do all these other things. Like they go to sauna on a regular basis because sauna is like one of the best things you can do, any person can do to cleanse your body and take off the load of the mitochondria. But also you have to have the nutrients. So she needs to get all of her nutrients checked. She needs to do a complete panoramic view of all of her nutrients to keep her mitochondria as healthy as she can.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
How often should you get the NutrEval, and how do you make sure you have good water that you can keep in your water?
All right, so she asked so the NutrEval is a test that checks all your vitamins, all your minerals, your gut. It checks toxicity, it checks your heavy metal, it checks your glutathione, coenzyme Q10, minerals, everything. So it gives you a really good view of how your biochemistry is working or not working, okay? And so you need to know this because this is your biochemistry 101. And all doctors took biochemistry when they were in medical school. All of us did. We all learned this. So if every doctor's not practicing like that, there's something, they're wrong. They should be doing that, which is a very quick cause for cancer. Then like you just take zinc, like it's a no-brainer, right? Or you eat pumpkin seeds, which is a good source of zinc. So, but you don't eat pumpkin seeds probably, right? So you take zinc. So it's very, very important. So it depends. Like if I have a patient that has a really good NutrEval, I'll fix the few little things and I'll say, look, we're going to repeat this in a year. But if you have a lot of things, you should repeat that in like 6 months. So that's a very good question. Now, the other question you had about water, oh my gosh, this is the $1 jillion question. Well, first of all, don't drink tap water. That's the first thing, is because the tap water is pharma water, meaning it has all the pharmaceuticals in it. It's got all the heavy metals. It's got the chlorine. So you have to invest in buying bottled water or having a good water maker system in your house. You have to have some kind of, some kind of water purification. You just have to have it. And then when you're out and about, that's one thing, unfortunately, you have to invest in. It's one of those things. It's unfortunate, but it's just the way. And then our shower water also gets into our skin. You actually absorb more through your skin than through your mouth. So I have a whole house system in my house because, I have hydrogenated water system. That's what I have, is a hydrogenated, for the whole house. That's what I have. So, yeah, good question.
Where do you get that? Like, where do you
I'll give you after we're done, I'll give it to you where you get that. So, okay, what's the next
What do you
question?
think about, you might have already touched upon it, bioidentical therapy, estrogen related to breast cancer?
Oh, that's another big question. So the question was, should the patient take bioidentical hormone therapy if they've had breast cancer? So the answer is no. Now, not completely, no. So there's a couple of things you can do. So one, you need to make sure that you are in remission and cancer-free. And what does that mean? What does remission and cancer-free? So the definition of remission and being cancer-free is a circulating tumor cells of 0 to 1, okay? That's the definition, that you are in remission and cancer-free. But, so how many doctors have you seen have asked you for your circulating tumor cells? Anyone here? No. No one's even checked it. Even your oncologist of 35 years, he didn't check it, did he? No. So anyway, but it's, if you want to Google YouTube circulating tumor cell, you'll find lecture after lecture after lecture on it. So you're more than welcome to become more and more and more educated on circulating tumor cell. But that is the future of oncology. So you want to make sure. So I tell people the hormone that's good is testosterone. It's good. It's very important in preventing breast cancer. And so testosterone is very good. Now the other thing, because women get vaginal dryness, so I use estriol, the E3. The E3 is protective against breast cancer, so I will use that. And then progesterone, I will tell you a story. I was lecturing at the Best Answer for Cancer about, I don't know, 2 years ago, and they talked, it was a doctor meeting, and the doctors were saying, okay, what about bioidentical hormones for cancer? So anyway, an oncologist stood up, so this is good news in Florida, in your neck of the woods, stood up and said, oh, progesterone is good in breast cancer. So I was like, oh, this is great. So progesterone, but you have to make sure, I always look at the whole picture, because there's ER positive and then there's PR positive. So PR positive, you may have a chance that the PR may be positive. So you have to look at each patient individually. There is no one size fits all. Trust me, you guys, there is no one size fits all. I wish my job was easier. It isn't. You got to look at the entire tapestry of someone to make sure that you're making good decisions. And again, like what I do here is I'm always looking and testing, and I'm doing genetic testing. I'm looking at the RGCs. So I'm looking at everything all the time. Then I have patients now that they're 5 years out. They're 5 years out, and then that's when I give them. They'll say, you know, Dr. Keelan, I want to take biologically identical hormones, and I will give it to them. So, but I make, those are patients that they have perfect test all the way around, every which way I look. So
we're going to give it about 5 more minutes. We have a lot more questions. What is your approach to people healing trauma?
Healing trauma? That's like the first thing you need to fix is healing trauma. So this patient, this person, whoever it is, and who hasn't had trauma? All of us in this room have had trauma, right? All of us, okay? It's part of life. But I tell people, you never get over it, you get through it, right? And so that patient needs to go to experts, like people who really know how to resolve trauma. So here in the clinic we use EVOX, which is a very effective, very efficient tool to resolve unresolved emotional conflict and or trauma. So it's probably the single, I would start there. Of course your eating's important, and then emotions would be probably, you know, neck and neck. But because the trauma is something you have to, you must deal with that and resolve that trauma, because it's totally possible for you to do that. So yes.
Okay, this is a good one. I've been diagnosed with breast cancer 1.5 years ago. Got a lot of treatment at our office that had cryoablation, immobilization of the area. My thermography was severely abnormal at the time of diagnosis, and it went down to just abnormal a month ago. Will my thermography ever be normal again in the areas where the vascular grew to feed the cancer?
Right, so she had an abnormal thermography when she had the cancer, and then it's gotten better. So yes, it should get completely normal once everything is gone, and the vascularity, yes, can be completely go back to normal. I saw a patient that I took care of. I just recently saw her results, like Friday, and she lives in Michigan, and she has she had breast cancer with me, and she had surgery. That's all she did was surgery. She didn't want to do chemo or radiation, so she came here, and her husband came. They came, and they've been seeing me and doing phone consults, and her thermography is as perfect as can be. So, but they do follow what they need to do, and she's not perfect about everything because she's probably 10 or 12 years out now, but she does what she needs to do, and she's done the work to unravel, like the self-mastery is where we're here for that, okay? I know we don't realize that when we're young, right? When everything's going great and wonderful and everything. Like my kids don't think about self-mastery at all, okay? Even though I give them an earful or two or three. And but that's not what they're thinking about, right? I mean, they just don't. But you can teach them how to think about that. But now, as we are all older, that's kind of our number one goal, self-mastery on all levels. And it's the most beautiful expose that you can possibly imagine. And it's not something that stops. You grow and grow and grow. And so I look at myself. I mean, I'm constantly doing something new to find out and my revelations that I need to find out about. And so Liliana, a month, I don't know, maybe it was a month ago, she came and to my house over the weekend, and it was amazing experience because I've done EVOX before and I've done lots of different things. And so she says, okay, why don't we do a tune-up? But it was interesting. They were such beautiful experiences and things that like I wasn't even aware of. And she was like, and I was like, well, okay, I got to really figure this out now. And then through the process, it was amazing. And you know what I'm talking about. It was beautiful. And like, I see myself as a different person now because of those 3 sessions I did as a tune-up. So because, we're all having experiences every day, and like we all know, everything doesn't go as we thought and planned. So
I'm going to do 2 more, Dr. Camille. Stage 4, and now after chemo, I'm getting lumps like red, shiny abscesses and they're painful, and they're bleeding. She's stage 4 breast cancer. She's getting chemo.
She's stage 4 breast cancer, and she's doing chemo, and she has bumps. Mm-hmm. What kind of bumps?
She said red, shiny abscesses, and they are painful, but not bleeding.
Okay. So what's her doctor doing about this? So, okay, well, first of all, that's pretty serious. So the doctor should be addressing that. And I don't know, you could, you probably have to schedule an appointment so you could take a picture and I can see it and I can tell you what to do. But if you're doing chemo, I hope you're doing the supportive treatments while you're doing chemo. So I tell people if they make the decision to do chemo, which sometimes patients need to do, you've got to do the supportive treatments to take care of yourself and all the nutrition and the coffee enemas and the fasting and all the good things that your body can, so probably why don't you read my book, and that will be a kind of a good primer for you to get started. So my book is Cancer Revolution. But you'll learn so many things. That will kind of be your jump start to start creating a roadmap.
So we're going to finish with one last. So what about 2 sessions of high-dose focused radiation for single breast cancer metastasis in the bone?
Okay, that is one time that I will tell patients to do radiation because it's very painful. And we don't want our patients in pain. If you're in pain, we need to get patients out of pain. We have to get them out of discomfort. And I have a patient that I just saw, and she was in so much pain that she could barely sit up in my office. So I told her to get radiation. And so with that, absolutely, but again, if you do radiation, I'll give you 2 caveats. One, you should do hyperbaric oxygen because it makes it work like 50% better. And then we give our patients something to detox the radiation. It's called SOD. I've talked about it before, superoxide dismutase. And so that helps clean out the garbage in the cells. So that also will protect the other cells. So that will be an important supplement for you to take while you're doing radiation.
Yeah, and one asked about urine therapy as an approach
To
treat cancer and other disease.
Well, urine therapy, it's interesting. I learned about that 33 years ago, believe it or not. And I learned about it from, I don't remember who I learned about it from, but it was for allergies at the time. I don't know about it for cancer. I don't know. I mean, I learn something new every day. So I believe that maybe, I don't know about, I know for allergies. And actually, a patient about a month ago came in to see me and they go, Dr. Keneally, we did urine allergy therapy. Will you do that? Will you help us do that again? And so they knew all about it, and it helped them so much. They'd already done it on one of their kids, or I forget the exact story, but it can be a very effective therapy.
I'm sure Dr. Steve, I think we're going to have to cut it. Even an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, an hour and 15. Good. That's great. Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate everybody out there. All of us, we're going to take the world by storm and change the way that medicine is executed, right? So, thank you, guys.